Jason Porter with Red Hat Developers, and we've got Don. How do you say your last name, Don?
Schenck.
Schenck. He's here talking about .NET on RHEL.
Yes.
Or Linux, either way.
Yes.
Very good. All right, how long have you been involved with the .NET initiative?
Well, I started using .NET back when it started in 2002. So, yeah, all the whole 15 years. Just had its 15th anniversary. It was a big deal with .NET. And then .NET Core, as soon as it went open source, I was all over that.
Oh, very good. Now, how long, some of our viewers may not know, how long has .NET been available on Linux?
I guess it was announced as open source, I think it was November 2014. The first release of it was about a year ago. It was June, last year at Microsoft Build. So it's been available for, let's say, a year and a half, but it's been like officially available for just about a year.
Okay, very good. Now, where can I run it? I mean, I should be able to run it on all distributions.
You can run it, in your office. You can run it in your house. You can run it. Basically anywhere. I mean, it runs on Linux. It runs on Mac. It runs on Windows. It runs on any flavor of Linux. Of course, it runs great on RHEL. But anywhere you want to run a program, you can run it.
Oh, very good. What kinds of limitations do I have? Like, if I'm running it on RHEL, can I write ASP? Can I write WinForms? What can I do with it on Linux?
Right now, it's all like server side, so RESTful services, ASP.NET with MVC, and then you can, obviously, other websites. There's templates for Aurelia, the other one that's escaping me, Angular, Web API, regular ASP.NET, ASP.NET MVC, all kinds of templates. And that templating engine you can get to, so you can basically do anything. You can do desktop apps if you want to do some low-level stuff, but it's not. Then you're outside of .NET. You're jumping into P-Invoke and getting to low-level libraries. It's not pretty.
Okay, very good. For you, what is the best feature of .NET running on RHEL?
For me, the best feature is the community, is the open source community. I think that is extremely valuable because now you have, instead of one place where you go for support, you have, say, you can go to GitHub repos, for example, and just look at the issues and get answers to your questions, or in my case, find out what you did wrong.
Is that better than Stack Overflow?
Yeah, well, I think it is.
Okay.
I mean, just for me. But the community is the biggest benefit I find of it. I mean, it brings you into the world of open source. If you've been a traditional Microsoft .NET developer and you lived in that world, and I did forever until a few years ago, and then you jump in the world of open source, you're like, man, there's all this, not just software available, there's all these people that know all this stuff, and I make connections with them through GitHub or Twitter or conferences, and next thing you know, you're in this whole, you're like in it. You're not using it, you're part of it, and that's so valuable.
Now, since .NET has been open source, or at least Core has been open sourced, have you seen a larger uptick in it being used in open source libraries?
Well, what I'm seeing is obviously like tradition or previous versions of libraries being ported to .NET Core.
Okay.
And then there are some, and this is the thing, a lot of developers don't realize this, you can take some libraries that aren't written for Core and they will work in Core. For example, yesterday I was talking to someone about NancyFX, which is an alternative library for like MVC and RESTful interfaces and that. And they said, yeah, we couldn't get it to work. And I said, no, you can. I've done it. I have a demo. You can get it. Here we go, open source. You can get it from my repo.
Great.
And there was just a setting this kind of obscure setting in project.json at the time that allows you to use it. So I see stuff being ported, and then you start to see more interest. I've talked to some customers that are actually writing and have code in production in .NET Core, which is on Linux, which is really cool.
Great. Now, how difficult is it to port something to .NET Core?
That's the typical IT answer. It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. And it really does. There's obviously when you write .NET, you're calling APIs. So depending on how many or which APIs you call, depends on the complexity.
Sure.
Microsoft has a tool that will analyze it. But the big news, and I have a session today at 4:30, we're going to talk about .NET Standard 2.0, which is, it's like 50,000 more, or a total of 50,000 API. It goes from 16% coverage of APIs to 70%.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, it is a big jump. And so what's going to happen with .NET Standard, you're going to find a lot of applications that in 1.1, they're like, well, they didn't really come over so well. In 2.0, it's going to be like, in Standard 2.0, it's going to be like, wow, this will port very easily. So that's a big deal. And that's going to be, I guess the beta bits should be available during Microsoft Build next week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. And one last question for you. How do I get started running .NET on Linux?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of resources. So the website, our website is redhatloves.net. So that's one place. If you go to .net, that's Microsoft's website for .net. Which is a great vanity URL. And then you scroll and look around, find Linux, and go blah blah blah. You'll find the installation instructions. I have some videos if you like to watch videos on YouTube on how to install .net on RHEL. We have a Red Hat development kit, a suite that you can download, and that gives you like a VM, VirtualBox to run it, Vagrant to management. You get Docker, Kubernetes, and OpenShift. That's really, I think, the way to go. I have a video on YouTube how to download and install that. So
excellent.
That's my job, is to produce resources. So just start at redhatloves.net or .net, and you're good to go.
Excellent. Very good. Alrighty. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.